Hello, it's me, Adam, from Middle Age Gaming 2020. We're the gaming podcast. So basically, what I'm going to be doing today is showing you a little bit how we do our audio editing, because obviously we do our podcast live on Twitch. And so by doing that, that means that, well, to make the podcast, we would have to put it all together. And we make a lot of mistakes when we do it all live. We're always, using ums or uhs, or my personal favorite, so, which you're probably going to hear a lot if you actually watched the stream. So I try to, there I just said the word so again. So I tend to try to edit those out while I'm doing the audio. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how I do that, okay? So before we begin, we're going to use Audacity. That is the software that I use. It's free, so there you go. And also, a few things before we start. I typically use keyboard shortcuts instead of right-clicking or going to the files menus. So the ones you're going to need to know are copy, which is Control-V. Copy is Control-C. Paste is Control-V. All right. Undo is Control-Z, and redo is Control-Y. So those are the four that I'm going to be using. I'll try to mention them when I'm doing them so as you can follow. But basically, just up front, those are the four keyboard commands I'm going to be using quite often. And the other thing that's also really useful is Control and your mouse wheel, because that's going to allow you to zoom in and zoom out. So it actually does this in a lot of things. Some people don't know that you can actually zoom in and zoom out on a web page using it, but you can. So that's fascinating. So now that we know all of our console commands, let's go ahead and take a look at our audio file. So here we are looking at Audacity. Okay, oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at Audacity. You're not looking at Audacity yet. Okay, so now you're looking at Audacity, all right? So now we're looking at Audacity, and the first thing we're going to look at is around, I've marked some points for you, 2713. So let me find that real quick. So you can see up here at the top is our time slot. So 2713 should be around here, okay? So let's go ahead and listen. Oh, sorry, that's 2313. Oh, man, I cannot count today. All right, so 2713, still in the 26s, 27, back, forward. Okay, all right, so we're going to be right here. So check this out. To Another Age, and then you had Armored Core 3, and then Armored Core. Okay, so basically what I'm doing there is there's a long kind of pause that I make here, and that's no good. So we're going to try to shorten that a bit here. Okay, so real quick, you can listen to it again before I change it. Core 2, and then Armored Core 2, Another Age, and then you have. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is just to come in here and then grab it, and then just grab it. And I want to make sure that I grab both my file, okay, Adam here, and I want to make sure that I grab Korean over here. I want to make sure I grab everything. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead, and I'm going to try to push it up to here and push it down to here. I'm just going to hit the delete button. Okay, so that gets rid of everything. It gets rid of it on both mine and Korean's thing, and I want to do that because otherwise it could desynchronize things, and then when we're talking, it's not going over well. And I'll show you how that works later on in a way to fix it. But for right now, real quick, let's see if we can see what that sounds like. See if it sounds better. Core 2, and then Armored Core 2, Another Age. Okay, so that was a little bit abrupt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this back a little bit and give myself a little bit of a breather there. Okay. And maybe a little bit on this side as well, just to make sure the sound completely finishes. All right, and then what I'm going to do is hit delete again. Armored Core 2, and then Armored Core 2, Another Age. And then okay, so there it sounds a lot better, and we can already tell. All right, and so yeah, and then again, when you saw me, boom, put it back like that, what I'm doing is I'm hitting Control-Z on my keyboard, and that is undoing what I want to do. And if I want to redo it, I can just hit Control-Y, and then it redoes what I just did there. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is at 2733. So that's going to be around here. Silent Line. And our Armored Core 4. Maybe Silent Line was for Armored Core 4. I don't quite remember. But what they do is they're really cool. And okay, so we can see there I kind of stumble and mutter a bit, and that's not great. Okay. So, I mean, we could just shorten all this. But then, Armored Core 4. Maybe Silent Line was for Armored Core 4. I don't quite remember. But what they do is they're. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. Armored Core 3, Silent Line. Okay, so I finished at that. So I'm going to give myself a little breather here. Start here. Remember to drag it down to Korean's line as well. I'm going to get rid of all this here, okay? And I want to start here. And so here what I'm doing, remember, if I hit Control and my mouse wheel, I can zoom out and zoom in, okay? So that's how I'm zooming out and zooming in. The other way to do that is you can use this control up here. Oh no, that's not it. Where is it? I don't know where it is actually. To be in, yeah, I don't know where it is. Anyway, just use control on your mouse wheel. That'll make your life so much easier. All right, so let's go back to here. But what they do is they're really cool. Okay, so I don't want the but, because if I say but, it's going to sound weird. Watch. The Armor Core 3 silent line. But what they do is okay, so let's see if we can get rid of that but there and just start with the what they do. What they do is they're really... Okay, so what I'm doing is I need to tap up here to figure out where the what begins. What they do is they're really cool. Okay, so I can figure out the what starts right about here. So what I'm going to do is... Oh, I lost that. No. Okay, well, that's okay. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to grab all that, okay, and zoom out, okay, and go back to this and long and over here, and go here. All right. And let's see how this sounds. Free Armor Core 3 silent line. What they do is... Okay, so then it's a little bit abrupt, so I'm going to give myself a little more breathing room. Free Armor Core 3 silent line. What they do is... Okay, and I jump right into what they do, right? And that doesn't sound authentic. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come in here, okay, and we can actually see this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on the line here, okay? You see how this is a finger? All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it to right. So basically, this is where it cut, where it stopped, all right? And I'm going to drag it over here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of look back, okay? So I want to look, and it's like, okay, that's a bit long. So I want kind of a short. And what I'm going to do is, because my what's going to start kind of quiet and go what like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, make it a little bit longer. Let's make it a little bit longer. Okay. And I'm going to come over here to effects, and I'm going to do fade in, okay? So what fade in does is it starts with a small sound and then goes, or it starts with basically no sound, and then it goes into your regular sound. Fade out does the opposite, where it starts with your normal volume and then fades out into nothingness. So we're going to do a fade in here, okay? And then we can see that it kind of has this more triangular shape to it. And then we can go back and listen and see if that improves the sound a bit. 3 Armor Core 3 silent line. What they do is they're... You see that? Okay, so let's go back. This is what it sounded like before. All right, I just hit Control Z there. Okay, so Control Y, Control Z. You can see the change here. So this is what it sounded like before. Core 3 Armor Core 3 silent line. What they do is... Okay, and this is what it sounds like after I did it. 3 silent line. What they do is they're really cool. So it sounds a lot more authentic there, right? Okay, great. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to 3117. All right, so let's move down the line to 3117, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 31. And okay, so it's right around here. Okay. Strong cult following. So those of us who really do like Armor Core have been making a big fuss over it. So I think at this... Okay, so you can see there's kind of a weird gaps in here in my speaking. Okay, because I'm probably thinking, I probably meant to say 311. Here, let's focus on this. And then, of course, it's one of the... But as with a lot of niche games, it does have a... Okay, so you can see I kind of stutter right there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. I'm going to just go there, shorten it. Okay? And I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap because then it sounds kind of like you're taking a breath in the middle. Okay? And we're going to shorten that and that, okay? And then, of course, it's one of the, but as with a lot of niche games, it does. Okay, so then I kind of stuttered there. So what I can actually do is go back and actually grab that whole thing and delete that altogether. Okay? So let's do that. And now we'll see how this sounds. Here, let's focus on this. And then, of course, as with a lot of niche games, it does have a very... All right? And I could hear there was a little bit of a cut in there, so I'm going to pull this a little bit back. And then do that again, delete, okay? Focus on this. And then, of course, as with a lot of niche games, it does have a very strong cult. Okay, so you see how well that worked? So Control Z, this is what the whole thing sounded like. And then, of course, it's one of the, but as with a lot of niche games, it does. Okay, so I stuttered in my words, and this is how it sounds after the edit. And then, of course, as with a lot of niche games, it does. And of course, it's one of the, but as with a lot of niche games, it... And then, of course, as with a lot of niche games, it does have a very strong cult following. Okay, so we can see that that obviously did a lot better. And then, of course, I can do the same thing here where I can just shorten this here. Armor Core have been making a big fuss over... All right, so we can just delete that. Boom. Do like Armor Core have been making a... Still a bit too long. So this one I'm just going to push right up to the edge. Right up to the edge here. And... Do like Armor Core have been making a big fuss... Okay. And that was a little bit... Probably a little bit too close, so let's back it up just a tiny bit. All right, let's check this out. cult following. So those of us who really do like Armor Core have been making a big fuss over it. So I think... Okay, and then this is the thing, is when you're listening to it, you can hear it. So I can definitely hear that there's kind of that slight change in volume there. However, as is the case with most art, as the artist, you're going to be seeing these errors a lot more than the people viewing them, because you know what to look for. They don't know what to look for, so their brain's going to kind of do this uncanny valley personification thing. It's going to fill in the blanks, and it's probably just going to correct it automatically. So most people are never going to see that. So don't worry about it if you have small errors like that. You know, you might see them, other people won't. And if you don't listen to this for a week and I came back, I probably couldn't tell you where the error was anymore anyway. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is... Oh, that was the 3117. Okay, and then next we're going to look at 4323. So let's go ahead and look at 4323. So normally when I'm doing this, what I would do is I would just start at the beginning and I listen to the full podcast, and as I go through, I edit it. What I've done here, though, is I've specifically gone out of my way not to fix certain things so I could show you guys how I do things. So I specifically went out of my way to not do this in order, and I've been looking for errors. All right, so what were we looking for again? We were looking for 4323. Okay. So let's see, 4323 is around here. Okay, so the tactics would do, you would gain job points every time you did anything. So if you healed somebody, is that right? Is that where I wanted to go? 4323. Okay, so we can see that's a bit of a long thing there. You would gain job point. Okay, that was a bit long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can maybe shorten this a bit. So first of all, what I'm going to do is take that out. So I'm going to go straight from one sound to the next. You would gain job points every... Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to shorten this. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to try to go in real close here and look for where the sound wave looks pretty similar. Okay. And so I can see it's pretty similar from here to here to here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find a good spot. So I'm going to grab it right at the bottom of a wave here. Okay. So grab that right at the bottom of a wave. And then I'm going to put it right up to the bottom of another wave that looks similar. So let's just put it right there. Okay, and this should hopefully shorten my word a little bit. You would gain job. Okay, so I shortened it. And then we're going to do the same thing over on this part. Look for sound waves that look kind of similar. And you do kind of have to eyeball it, admittedly. Okay, so we can see it kind of goes up, down, higher up, lower down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, so you got to pay attention there. So let's just start on the bottom, on the down. Okay, and this is about the same. So we're gonna go there, and we're gonna see if we can shorten it again, and see how this goes. You would gain job points every time. So you see that? Okay, so let's see how that changed. So we're gonna hit Control Z to go back and make that the longer one. Okay. You would gain job. Okay, and then we're gonna hit Control Y, and we're gonna listen to the shorter one. You would gain job. Okay, so let's listen to them back to back. You would gain job points every. Okay, so then that's how I could make, now in this case I probably actually wouldn't have edited that. I just wanted to show you how it works. But basically, if you have a really long thing, especially something that has one long sound, so for example, a lot of times I say so, you know, like when I'm thinking, and then I can basically shorten it to a so, you know, make it much, much shorter, which makes it nice and concise. All right, so the last one we're going to do is 4347, which is, if I believe in and these are big deals. Let's see, I'm on the 44s. Okay, 4347 is around here. Okay. So let's see what we got here. Which meant that your healers were really difficult to level up because they would never get experience unless they were the... All right, so I think it's supposed to be around here. So when I was doing this, I was backed up a bit. All right, so let's hit this so we can scroll back. All right, here we go. You only get experience from killing enemies, which meant that your healers were really difficult to level up because they would never get experience unless they were the ones to... Okay, so first of all, we can shorten this here. And shorten that there. Okay. Experience from killing enemies, which meant that your healers were really difficult to level up because they would never get experience unless... All right, and then here we can see I flubbed up. So let's see if we can actually clean that up so I say it correctly the first time. get experience unless up because they would never get experience unless. So I can see here this little one here, and then a bigger one, and a little one and a bigger one. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get rid of all this, so that that little one here will go where this little one was. And let's see how that works. So let's listen to it first. They would never get experience unless. Okay, and then I'm going to hit my delete key and then do it again. Level up because they would never get experience unless they were the ones to finish people off with. Okay, so actually right there, now it sounds like I said it correctly the first time. And that might be another way that I would edit. I don't typically do that. Normally what I would actually do is leave that in because it sounds more authentic, because they would never get experience unless. And it just makes me a little more relatable. But now that we've already done it, might as well leave it in there. And then you see this little thing over here, okay? You see that? This looks like an to me, all right? Uhs look like caterpillars. It's like a big fuzzy caterpillar. So let's see if that is an how? Haha, see? So the more you do this, the more you're going to recognize things. So right off, I can see that that's an This is probably a smaller to do. Oh, no, that was a do. See, so you're not 100% right, but you should go ahead and listen to him. All right, so let's see if we can eliminate this and then just make it sound like I said it without the So first, let's listen to it again. Do. How do you... Okay, so I'm starting with the Okay, so I need to locate where does the start. All right, so it's probably going to start around here. So let's see if we can get it. How do you... Okay, so there's a how. So let's move it a little bit further back. How do you... Okay, the H is a little bit harsh, but let's do this. Let's grab here, okay? All right, and I'm going to delete this to make it so there's not so much a gap here. Okay, and again, how do you... There's kind of an attack on that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, grab it, a little bit more than that. Grab it like there, okay? Oh, that's a little bit too much. Okay, grab it like that, and then what I'm going to do is Effect, and go to Fade In again. Do. How do you... Okay, that was a bit too abrupt, so let's bring it in. And fade in now. Let's see if that works better. Do. How do you... Okay, so that's not too bad. All right, so one last thing now. Let's make sure, because I might have made this mistake. Just to be sure. Always remember where you are. Okay, remember where we are. We're at 43 minutes here. And we can come along. Okay, and we're good. But let's say I'm doing something. Okay, so let's come over here. All right, what is it on? Their armored core game. So. Okay. Cool. So you think that... Okay, so you can see there that because, we're having a real conversation, it takes some time to think. We want to make it sound a little more authentic. So what I could do is I could say, just delete that whole thing there. We really should make another Armored Core game. Cool. So all right. Now, that was probably a bit too short because I can shorten it. But basically, this will happen sometimes. So sometimes I'll be editing something, and I'll see like this here, and I'm like, oh, no, get rid of that. So I'll delete this, and I forget to drag it down to Koreans. Okay, so right now we can see this is all lined up, right? So if I were to delete that, what does that even say on me? Let's see what I say there. So, see, I told you I say so all the time. So that's my habit think right there. Okay, so basically it's so hard not to say so. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this. So I'm going to delete this, okay? I delete that, and then if I were to play it... Really should make another Armored Core game. Okay. Cool. So you think they'll probably come out with one for the PS5? So that's a bit too abrupt, and it might not seem like a huge deal now. But if I were to delete, say, a larger portion, like, over time, let's say I delete something this big and then another thing this big. Over time, I'm about that much shorter on my end, and then I'll end up with something like this, especially because you can see here for a long time, Korean's not saying something, or if we go to a part where he's talking, I'm not saying something for a long time. So we can get kind of out of sync if I'm not paying attention, and then it sounds like this. Okay. Cool. So you think they'll probably come out with one for the possibility. PS5? I think they... Okay, so obviously that doesn't make sense. Now, if you did this, normally, like right now, I could just hit Control-Z and I fixed it, right? But if I had done this and I wasn't really paying attention and I'd made, say, 5 or 6 edits since then, and I don't really know where I went wrong, what you can do is simply this, okay? Remember where you are. So we're at the 24 seconds, okay? And we're going to go all the way to the end here, okay? So we're going to go all the way to the end. Okay, and we can see that I'm off by quite a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab here and just highlight from there to there, okay? And it's going to help you. It's going to give you these yellow lines to kind of show you where it lines up. And I'm going to go over here to generate silence, and I'm going to create silence, which is no sound here, okay? So there's no sound. I'm going to hit Control-X, okay? and that cuts. All right, and then I'm going to go back to where I was. What was it? 31.24, I think, if I remember correctly. Where were we? 31.24. Yeah, it was around here. So here we can see I'm still in sync, and here we can see is where I'm off. All right, so what I'm going to do is, because I just cut that off of my track, I made my track equal to Krian's track, and then I cut mine shorter. I'm just going to go here. I'm just going to hit Control V for paste, and now we're all back in sync from this point forward.
Come out with one for the PS5?
It's a possibility. All right, and of course you can do something here too. For an example, if I'm going to listen to this little part here. Okay, you can't really hear that. That one's pretty quiet, so that was not too bad. But sometimes you might hear like a, like, you know, for instance, if I'm trying to open a bottle of water or something. So in that case, you just highlight it and then just go to generate silence, and it just makes it quiet. Okay, and that's basically it. The only other trick is something that I've already done, so I can't really show it to you. But what you would do is, for example, right now I have my fan on. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but sometimes there might be kind of like a static-y background, like the sound of your fan or whatever. What you can do in that case is you can come over here, select a part where nobody's talking, so it's just background noise. Go to Effect, go to Noise Reduction, click Get Noise Profile, and what that's going to do is it's going to remember, like, okay, look for this specific kind of sound wave, and the longer your sample you have, the better it's going to do. All right, and then you can just click Select here, and then go to Generate, or sorry, go to Effects, and go down to Noise Reduction, and then you could click OK, and what it would do is it would basically look through the entire sound file for that kind of sound wave, and it'll reduce it. Okay, so that'll make it smaller, so it'll dampen that part of the sound, so that'll make it a little bit easier for you. Okay, so hopefully you learned a little bit of something, or at least you have a better idea of how I do it. If you're a sound person, you might be looking at it and be like, oh my god, this guy's such an amateur, what is he doing? And if that's the case, please tell me how to better do it, because I would love to be better at this. But I think it's okay for your average person, and we haven't gotten any complaints yet, so yeah. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful for everybody, and hope you enjoyed it. Maybe we'll give you some other tips on how we do some other stuff later. So catch you guys later. See you soon.